Welcome to this explainer. We are diving straight into one of the absolute most astonishing biological realities of the human body. Every single night when you close your eyes and drift off, your brain doesn't just shut down to rest. No, it literally power washes itself. We're going to unpack some really brilliant research from Antiaging-labs that reveals a hidden nightly wash cycle happening right inside your head. And I promise you, by the end of this explainer, you are never going to look at a good night's sleep the exact same way again. Okay, let's jump in. To really appreciate how incredible this is, we first have to look at a biological puzzle that actually stumped scientists for an entire century. Practically every single organ in your body has a plumbing network called the lymphatic system. It's basically a web of tiny vessels running through your tissues, quietly collecting cellular rubbish and carrying it away to be destroyed. It is everywhere, except, supposedly, in the brain. For decades, anatomists went looking for lymph vessels inside the head, and they found absolutely nothing. No drains, no pipes. It was just this massive biological question mark: where on earth does the brain's garbage go? And what makes this puzzle so incredibly baffling is this number right here, 20%. Your brain burns a massive 20% of your daily energy, and burning that much energy naturally generates an enormous amount of cellular trash. So it's a total paradox, right? We've got an organ pumping out a mountain of garbage every single day with seemingly zero ways to actually take out the trash. I mean, think about it. If your kitchen produced 20% of your total household waste, but you had no garbage cans, you'd have a serious problem really quickly. So how does the brain survive? Well, the breakthrough finally hit in 2012. A team led by Dr. Micah Nittergaard over at the University of Rochester discovered that the brain actually does have a cleaning system. It's just, well, built differently. It's run by the brain's support cells, which are known as glia. So the researchers combined the words glia and lymphatic and dubbed it the glymphatic system. But here is the massive plot twist, the part that just completely rewrites everything we know about brain health. This private drainage network, it barely runs while you're awake. It really only kicks into gear when you fall asleep.
Part 1. The nightly wash cycle.
So why does this power washing mechanism literally have to wait until you're asleep? Why can't your brain just tidy up while you're sitting at your desk? Well, imagine trying to pressure wash the aisles of a massive stadium right in the middle of a sold-out game. You just physically can't do it. Every row's packed, the walkways are jammed, and there's absolutely nowhere for the water to go. That's your awake brain. Your cells are actually swollen and tightly packed together to pass precise chemical signals. Your noradrenaline is high, keeping you alert, and fluid is basically just stuck at the surface. The trash just piles up. But picture that exact same stadium once the crowd finally goes home. The aisles open up, the cleaning crews can literally flood the place. That's your deep sleep brain. Noradrenaline drops, the cells shrink back, and fluid floods deep, deep into the tissue. This next part is absolutely wild. As you slip into slow-wave sleep, the gaps between your brain cells actually widen by roughly 60%. That space expands from about 14% of your brain's total tissue volume all the way up to 23%. Honestly, it's one of the most mind-blowing findings in modern sleep science. By widening the channels that much, fluid that could barely trickle during the day suddenly pours through your brain like a rushing river. Part 2. Mechanics of the deep clean. So the stadium is empty, right? But how does the cleaning crew actually operate? Let's break down the mechanics of this deep clean, because there are 3 crucial steps working in perfect harmony here. Step 1. As you fall asleep, these star-shaped support cells called astrocytes physically pull in, shrinking to open up that massive 60% gap we just talked about. Step 2, your heartbeat acts as the pump. With every single beat, your arteries expand just a tiny bit, driving fluid through dedicated water channels called aquaporin 4. It's basically acting like a high-pressure nozzle. And step 3, this is the craziest part. Your slow brainwaves literally pull the tide. Researchers have actually caught this on film. As a slow wave of deep sleep electrical activity sweeps across your brain, blood briefly retreats. That drops the pressure and physically pulls a literal wave of fluid in right behind it. Wash, rinse, repeat. All night long.
Part 3. What gets washed away?
Now that we understand how the plumbing works, we have to ask, what exactly is getting washed away? The biological trash piling up in your head is pretty terrifying if it's just left unchecked. Just look at how these dots connect between a bad night of sleep and chronic disease. First up, amyloid beta. This is a sticky protein produced just by normal brain activity. If it isn't washed away, it clumps into plaques, which happens to be the defining hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. Then you've got tau, which forms these tangles linked directly to cognitive decline.
Alpha-synuclein aggregates into deposits associated with Parkinson's disease. And on a more day-to-day level, lactate and other metabolic leftovers are what actually cause that heavy, brain-foggy feeling you get after a rough night. So you aren't just tired, your brain is literally sitting in its own waste. And to really put into perspective just how critical this is, consider this. The clearance of that dangerous amyloid beta runs roughly 2 times faster during sleep than it does while you're awake. Sleep is not when your brain does some light tidying. Sleep is when the heavy-duty industrial-level cleaning happens. Miss a wash cycle, and that toxic waste just sits there. Which brings us to a really concerning biological trap. It's a vicious, bidirectional cycle. You get bad sleep, and you let this waste build up. But here is the truly terrifying part. Letting that waste build up literally damages the very brain circuits responsible for producing deep sleep in the first place. So you miss deep sleep, the waste piles up, the waste essentially breaks your sleep switch, and then you get even less deep sleep the next night. It's a rapid downward spiral, and researchers believe it's a major risk factor for dementia.
Part 4. Protocols for brain clearance.
But look, it's not all doom and gloom. You actually have a massive amount of control here. No, you can't consciously force the glymphatic system to just turn on, but you absolutely can optimize your environment to trigger this wash cycle. Here are 5 highly practical, science-backed rules to protect the conditions your brain needs. First, sleep on your side. Animal studies strongly suggest this position clears waste most efficiently, so it's a sensible zero-effort freebie. Second, keep your bedroom cold, ideally around 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. You physically cannot enter deep sleep until your core temperature drops. And surprisingly, taking a warm shower 90 minutes before bed actually pulls blood to your skin, which helps you shed that heat faster. Third, aggressively protect the first 3 to 4 hours of the night. Deep sleep is totally front-loaded, so going to bed at 1 a.m. and just sleeping in doesn't work. Your actual bedtime matters way more than your total hours. Fourth, stop eating 3 hours before bed. A late meal raises your heart rate and core temperature, actively fighting the exact physical state you need to reach. And finally, do regular aerobic exercise. Doing cardio keeps your arteries nice and springy, which strengthens that heartbeat pulse that pushes the fluid through your brain. And this is where we bring it all right back to your daily life. If you wear a smartwatch or a fitness ring, you've probably seen that metric for deep sleep percentage. Honestly, most people treat this like a vanity stat and just obsess over their total hours. But now, you know exactly what that number is buying you. That deep sleep percentage is the literal, physical window when your brain's clearance system is actually running. The protocols we just went over, those are the specific levers you can pull to improve that exact number.
So I really want to leave you with a completely new way to think about all of this. You've likely been told your entire life that sleep is just when your brain shuts off and rests. But as we've just seen from this incredible biology, that couldn't be further from the truth. Sleep isn't when your brain rests. It's when your brain goes to work. So tonight, as you're setting your alarm, ask yourself, are you just resting your eyes, or are you actually giving your brain the time it needs to save itself? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep optimizing, and have a great night's sleep.